I usually do a rewrite after I get like the art back. You're right. So I'll write it
Okay.
for
Yeah,
the
yeah,
first.
yeah. You're talking about
And
like the dialogue, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yep, I do something very similar too. You kind of have it all laid out, and then obviously when you see it on page, it's a little bit different. So then you're like, okay, I got to reword some of the way how this panel flow and all that stuff. I do the same thing.
Hey guys, welcome to Inside Comics. Really quick, if you like this kind of content, make sure you're subscribed and tell a friend about it. Today, I'm super psyched. My guest is Brandon Lee. Brandon, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me again.
Yes. So you just launched the Kickstarter for the third entry in your Avalon series, and we're going to
Yeah.
get into that in just a minute. But before we talk more about Avalon, I'm wondering if you can tell me a little bit about managing projects. You've launched a few Kickstarters. You have a couple books under your belt. Can you kind of walk me through like all the kind of people that you have to be connected to make a comic book, and as like the project lead, how does that work? You just managing all the people.
Yeah. So obviously, like you mentioned, we're on a third kind of book right now, kind of getting it out there. So I've noticed with the writing and all that, it's gotten a little bit easier. And then having the team around you is having a team in general is just important to have the artist, maybe a co-writer, maybe an editor. So it's just it's just trusting. For one thing that I do with Avalon and all that stuff, and having everybody around is just trusting everybody in the positions that they're really in. The artist. In the beginning, it was trying to build that trust that we didn't know too much about each other, and I didn't know much about him. This is like my baby and all that stuff, so I wanted to make sure this came to life properly. And over time, he's just constantly gotten better and better and better. And now he's kind of we're comfortable with each other and building that relationship over the span of probably almost 2 years now. It's been awesome because he's definitely picked up a lot of that stuff and a lot of great ideas. And now that he's really into the project even further, seeing how the players characters kind of play out, it's easier for him to kind of come up with new pages and do new designs and all that stuff. So it's really trust with that. Alan, on the other hand, too, is him and me from the start to kind of get Avalon moving. And we just trust. We have a natural chemistry because we've known each other before we started writing Avalon anyway. So it was just having that trust that I say again, we're in each other to kind of make this come to life and putting all of our ideas on paper and really seeing what we have here. And then having some other people, like I've had editors as well, but ghost editors right now that don't really want their name out there, but just having them check and see where we're at, see if they like the story, or the progression of the story and all that stuff, the artwork, out from like an outsider perspective. So it just, I think the big word I would pick is just having trust in your team around you.
Yeah, absolutely. As like, I'm also a comic book creator, and so my experience is like there's a lot of just kind of checking in on people, making sure that
Yeah.
like things are moving along, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and my advice would be to keep your team as small as possible, because
Yeah.
the more people you add, the more links in the chain, the more places there is for one to break. And
Right.
so like having an artist that can do it all, pencils, inks, and colors, that is great. But sometimes the production is a little bit slower, but yeah, it's a little bit more reliable sometimes. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
more people involved, the more likely things are to go astray.
Exactly that. Just having to contact one person for the artwork in general is way easier than having four different people kind of like, hey, what's the status on the inking, or hey, what's the status on lettering? Having the artist just do all that stuff and do it well is important. And we got very fortunate and lucky getting Demetrius to do that for us, and he does a phenomenal job, and we love what he's doing and all that stuff. So he's doing it very well. So it's always nice to have just one person to get in contact to make sure how everything's going in that place of the comic.
Yeah. And I know my process is I always try and be really respectful of an artist's time. So I make sure my script is like super solid. But then after you get that artwork, sometimes you need to revise things. And so it's really important to me to work with like a letterer that you can, that's really got your back. and,
Yeah.
and has a lot of patience, because usually I'll try and do a rewrite after I see the art, and then say, okay, I'm gonna, adjust these things for how the art looks. But then even after that, sometimes you get the lettering back and you want to rework it a little bit, or it's
Yeah.
like, oh, that doesn't look quite right. And so having a letterer that's like flexible and willing to like kind of move with you as your script evolves, I think is really important.
Yeah, it definitely is. And for all the same reasons that you've said, I do something very similar as well. It's just you get the page, you have the script, you get the page when it's done, you read it. It's just constantly rereading it, and then reading it out loud is important too, because if you're saying something and then it doesn't like sound right in general, because sometimes it sounds different in your head when you're just skimming and reading fast through your head, but when you're reading it out loud and almost acting the part, sometimes things don't sound right, so you have to adjust the script again. And then so I definitely understand what you're saying in that way as well, but it's very similar how we kind of handle that as well.
Yeah. There's a lot of moving parts in making a comic book. One thing that I've kind of learned is my friend John Delaney taught me this. It's the compliment sandwich, and it's like, so when you have some kind of bad news to give an artist or give like someone that you're working with, it's start with something good, then put in the shit in the middle, and then put something good on at the bottom, right? So I really love what you did in panel 1. It's amazing. In panel 2, you drew the wrong character. In panel 3, it was awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome again. No, I definitely get that. A lot of that is, I feel like, has to be personality based out too. You have to kind of sell it as well. It's not just kind of just saying things. But yeah, it seems like you definitely have it. I think I definitely have that kind of personality where it's like, you don't want to be a dick. You know what I mean? You want to get the job done. You have a vision as well, so you have to get what you make them feel good about it, because it is a good job. They're your artist. You think they're doing a good job, but some things need to get tweaked a little bit. So I definitely get that too.
Can you tell me a little bit more about Avalon? The 3rd issue is up on Kickstarter right now. What's this series all about for people who are new to it?
Yeah, so Avalon is a post-apocalyptic comic book. You're following the Castle family through this whole kind of journey. It's kind of a dysfunctional family that 3 brothers. They have a kind of a fractured bond between each other. Andy, which is the oldest brother, is not very close to the family as much as he should be in the recent years, because his new job and all that stuff. So it's kind of, and a lot of stuff has happened to the family, sicknesses, some physical problems, some health problems, and then the apocalypse happens. So then you get all these infected people running around. Then now it's like, okay, you got to put these differences to the side for a second here. We got to get together. We have to find a way to group up so we can take care of each other and all that stuff. And then, so that's like the big gist of this in the beginning of Avalon that we got here. And one thing that we're really trying to focus on is, really focusing on mental health within the characters, like I mentioned earlier, like real life physical problems and real life health issues. So, because a lot of people take medication in the real life, so using medication in the stories and having the world be a main character rather than kind of following a hero's journey with a certain individual character. So we're really trying to make the world a big main character, so that dictates the story rather than this character is going A to B, then to C, then to D. But so we're really trying to focus on the world making that depiction rather than us, the character, doing it.
So can you tell me a little bit more about like the dystopian aspect of it? Like, I know the heart of it is very, very important to you, and that's really what's going to resonate with people at the end of the day. But I think what's going to get people in the door is the apocalypse sort of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so can you tell me a little bit more about what are the specifics of your kind of world?
So like this world that we're going to be living in is, so we're really going to be showing 2 different things. Like in the first couple issues here, we're showing 2 different stories with the family, and then Andy and his partner Miller. So in this city which it takes place in Erie, but it's like a fictional Erie, where I'm from, Erie, Pennsylvania. So we're really trying to make it so, okay, you could tell there's something going on there, something behind the scenes, and there's reasons that there's stuff going on in the city that keeps Andy and Miller away from their family and all that stuff, and you'll be able to figure that out later. Obviously, don't want to spoil that too much, but so then obviously things as well as with the infected and all that stuff that we're going to be going a different route with it. It's going to hold traditional values, but we have to change it up a little bit. We're making it, in my opinion, a little bit more scary, a little bit more fear based. We're taking advantage of the dark. That's the real reason why people were afraid of the dark. We're trying to make the dark a big fear again, and that's one thing that we're going to be pushing for going forward in future issues as well as and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do the black and white, to really utilize that gray tone and that black and that white, and just really try to make that fear come to life a little more. And but that would basically be it with answering that question, I think, unless I'm missing something, you think.
So bad things happen in the dark.
Yeah. So yeah, we want to really make that fear come back to life, because everybody has a fear of the dark. You hear a noise and you don't see anything. You're like, oh no, well, I don't know what that was. So, but it's just really trying to utilize that fear that everybody has a natural thing of. So that's basically that.
It makes sense to me. And so this is the third issue, but in this Kickstarter, if people are brand new to the project, you can go back and get the earlier issues, correct?
Yes. So we didn't make it a specific tier. Now, if you wanted to get, say, a specific tier, and we have it as an add-on. So if you did want to get issues 1 and 2 physicals, you can do that. You can hit the add-on button, or if you're still not sure, we have a catch-up PDF tier, which is cheaper. It's $12 for all 3 of them. You'll get all the PDFs. So if you just want to make sure, hey, this is something I want to back, or this is something I want to look forward to in the future, and you're not sure completely yet, just grab that one. So we have different avenues for people.
Can you tell me a little bit about the variant covers that you have?
Yeah. So we have three different covers for issue 3. We have the standard cover A, and the cover B we have is you can buy it on Kickstarter, or you can buy it in live person, like at live events, where basically wherever you can see me at an event, you'll be able to buy this cover here, the cover B. Now, cover C, which is our Christmas cover for this one, because the title of issue 3 is called Last Christmas. It's our Christmas cover. It's only going to be able to be purchased on the Kickstarter. We're doing like a made to order kind of deal with this one. We're not going to be selling it at any events. We're never going to be selling it again. So this is to touch on that exclusivity about, I don't know, is that a word? Exclusivity of the cover. So, and then there's pins. There's a Santa pin. There's family Christmas card that we're doing with the Castle family, exclusive poster, and a bunch of different things like that. Yeah,
that's cool. No, I like the exclusive, because some people, it's like, oh, this is very rare, but then they're selling it forever. This is like this is unique. Like, this is only the Kickstarter. That's really cool.
So yeah, that's one thing that we wanted to just kind of stick to and make it a basic few tiers. It is what it is, and let's leave it like that.
Awesome. So there is a link in the description of this video, everyone. Click that link and go and check out the Kickstarter for Avalon. Brandon Lee, I want to thank you for being on Inside Comics.
I want to thank you for having me again.
Awesome. Until next time, peace.